Hey everybody, and welcome to Jack's Treasures on YouTube.
Hi, I'm Brian.
I'm Jack. No. Are you Jack?
No,
Oh,
not really.
That's Jack.
That's Jack.
I'm
right
Tracy.
there. I'm Brian. This is Tracy right now. And today, this is our ongoing series of questions and answers that people have asked us, or we ask other people, or stuff that we just made up.
Or it just comes up in conversation.
Correct.
Like this.
Like this one right here. Today, we have a great topic for you guys today, because normally we don't. But this one we do. And today's topic is...
What is the importance of your reseller name?
This topic is courtesy of Scott, the bearded picker, who decided on his show today on YouTube. Check it out, guys. Tracy will put a link down there below.
He thinks we should be Brian's treasures.
He thinks we should be Brian's treasures. Doesn't roll off the tongue the way Jack Treasures does. So we decided that we were going to talk about what and why and how do you choose the name for your business. And
Yes.
Before we preface going into this topic, I have to say this one part right here because I didn't write it in our show notes. Yeah, we have show notes. We're professionals. I wanted to mention this part. Naming your business is probably, in my opinion, especially on the social network, if you're on eBay, whatnot, YouTube, District, Jambo, whatever it may be, okay? I think your name is simply the most important thing that you can do because people are going to relate everything about you to your name. It is your brand.
Yes.
It is the one thing that separates you from other resellers in order for them to come into your room to the first time or to come to your item, maybe even your item the first time, is seeing that name. Not so much on eBay, on static listings and stuff, but I will tell you, I look at people's names because I want to look down and see, have I bought from them before? Maybe check the reviews and stuff like that. But to me...
Reminds me of that one person that bought from me on eBay. Remember him?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Tracy will tell you a great story at the end. You need to stick around to the very end of this podcast to hear this amazing, and I would tell you, you will actually enjoy this story.
Yes.
Okay, so how do people choose names for their business?
Well, we are talking about reselling business. We're not talking about going out and naming an ice cream parlor or an advertising, company or something. So we're talking...
I would imagine that they probably have like committees and stuff to help figure out
But
the
we're
names.
talking reseller business. Usually like sole proprietorships, partnerships, family businesses, things along those nature.
Yeah.
And we noticed when we first started wanting to make YouTube videos, it's like, well, we got to have a name. At that time, my YouTube account was just Tracy Sweck. That's my name. And I'm like, oh, I don't, that's not that cool. I mean, it's a cool name for me.
Mine was Brian 0742411.3.
Number one, nobody can pronounce our last name when they see it in print, and they can't.
They can't.
And number two, I just wanted something cool. So we were talking about it, and I was like, well, people seem like they do a lot of stuff
I've actually had 3 different names on my businesses.
They talk about like their location. That seems to be very common, and we're like, well, we are in Dallas, but we are not in Dallas, Texas. So that's a little confusing. We're not going to go the Dallas route.
Because one of mine was Dallas Deals.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're not in Dallas, Texas.
Nope.
So people automatically, you hear Dallas, you assume that. So we usually tell people we're from Atlanta. Well, I mean, that doesn't 100% like relate to us because we are in suburban Atlanta. We are in Dallas.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. The suburban Atlanta pickers, I don't know. That sounds kind of like we should be driving around a minivan. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we don't.
No, we don't have children.
We kind of moved.
Well, actually, we have children, but
we moved along to the next idea. We're like, well, we got to come up with something different, and we threw names back and forth and back and forth.
Okay, some of mine did have to do with location.
Yeah.
The first one was Dallas Deals, but that one was a good one. Second one was Hiram Thrift. Okay.
Which we live in Dallas/Hiram. It's a crazy line, but we're right
and
there.
Tracy had one that was TMS Gaming.
Yes, that's actually was my eBay. I may still officially be my eBay name. I think
my official one is still Dallas Deals.
TMS is my initials, and gaming is what I sold a lot of back in the day.
Yeah, and usually when you're talking about naming your business, you do want to name it somewhat, if you're a reseller, you want to name it somewhat relatable to reselling, i.e., picker,
Flippin',
thrifter, reseller, treasures, flipper, upcycle. All of those things are great name. Deals. That's another one. Great deals. Those are great things to add on to your name. But one of the things that we did is we went a more personal route with ours. So we named our business Jack's Treasures. And we named it after our cat Jack because when Tracy and I got married, we were both older. My children are older than me. They don't need to know that.
It's obvious.
But they what? Okay, so we have our children are older. Our youngest daughter is 21. You know, our oldest son is 33.
Thinking back to when we were doing this, my daughter was still like 14 at that time. You know, it was we were beyond kind of the children age, like little kid age.
So, but we did have some children, and that was one of them. That was the first child that we have, and that was Jack. Jack was our cat. She was ours. I mean, when we got married, she was with us. Okay. The day we got married, she was part of the ceremony. Believe me when I tell you that. She might not have been at the church, but she was part of what happened that day.
Yes.
And so we decided that we love cats. Jack was named Jack because we didn't know, Tracy didn't know if she was a boy or a girl.
She was feral, and I worked
really
Jack
hard
to tame her.
Jack is actually a girl.
Yep.
But she had one eye. She did have two eyes, but one of them was partially closed because of a birth defect. So we put her with a patch over the eye because it was kind of...
It's not that pleasant to look at. But.
Yeah, but she was a beautiful cat, and we absolutely adored her. So our company morphed into Jack's Treasures. And one of the best things about it, our particular name, even though it does cause some confusion, Scott, but...
We just went to a meetup, and I would say 50% of the people we met called him Jack, and that's fine.
Yeah, that is absolutely fine when people call me Jack. I absolutely love it because Jack meant so much to us. Mm-hmm. So we named our business from something that was very personal to us and something that was very, very important to us that we loved. So we named our business Jack's Treasures.
And it's a simple phrase. It kind of rolls off the tongue. People can remember it, you know.
Yes, that's one of the things. When you're choosing a business name, you don't want to say things like, I go to yard sales, find stuff cheap, and then sell it. .com. Okay, that's great. It says exactly what your business is, but it doesn't have that roll off of the tongue. It doesn't have that, I love discounts. That's a great one because it flows.
But I rob Pokemon cards off of small children and then sell them on Whatnot.
Yeah, that one sort of, it's like, you know. Yeah.
Maybe accurate, but...
Very accurate, very, especially for this one right here. You know, I bargained down from $1.com, whatever. You know, that might not give you the best, you know, I did half of an air quote. I said best. What am I talking about? But some people... and some people, by the way, people that have other names that are similar to those types of names and are very successful at it, that's great. That's great. Mm-hmm. Again, just to remember, these are just our opinions, which suck anyway, but, you know, we want to give them to you. And these are just things that we remember.
And some of the names that seem like they make absolutely no sense have, like, exploded in the reselling.
Harry Tornado.
That's the one I was thinking of.
His name's not Harry, but people don't call him Harry.
People call him Harry.
I don't.
Well, you don't, but some people do.
His name is Josh.
Yes.
Just for you who don't know. Okay.
Name drop.
Name drop. Name drop number one. Well, this is a name on one. We should be naming about 900 people. Here's one. SSK Promo. Okay.
What's it mean? I don't know.
Well, we do know.
We do know.
Because we had him on our show, and it is Sideshow Ken
Promotions.
Promotions, right. So it makes a sense for someone of those that sells that way, you know, and that's a good one. Here's my next little throw out. Next little throw out. Okay, Commonwealth Picker.
Yes.
That one's based on location.
Location.
Okay, the location of Virginia. Virginia is known as the Commonwealth of Virginia. And, all other states, by the way, some of them do have Commonwealth in it, but they're not known for that.
Yeah.
Virginia is known for that. So when you think Commonwealth picker, okay, if you don't know, his name is Kevin. Shout out. But he's in Virginia.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense like that. We have here in Georgia, we have the ATL Flippers. Mm-hmm. Okay. Great name on there.
Know exactly what's going on there.
We know where they're at. North Georgia Pickers.
Yep.
Okay, that's another one.
We'll talk about a confusing one that's located near us. That would be the Buffalo Picker.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with being from Buffalo. He's from Georgia.
He's from Georgia.
But he's very into like history and the Buffalo Soldiers and things like that. So he brought that into his name. But everybody sees them. They're like, you're from New York.
Yeah. But he's not.
No.
Georgia. Atlanta area. Okay. Name drop. That was my thing about Mike.
I like it.
That was awful, though, wasn't
Yes.
it? We'll do it again. Every time we do a name drop, I'll do that.
No. We do it too often.
We are going to do it a lot in this one right here. Okay. These are just names that are something people are picking about location. Think about things that are a location. Mm-hmm. Okay. We have the North Georgia Picker, Bible Belt Picker,
yep.
The Nashville Picker, Ray.
My good friend, the Gulf Coast Picker.
Gulf Coast Picker.
Rocket City Resellers.
We're just dropping them all over the place.
We are.
Rocket City Resellers. What does that make you think of?
Rockets.
Huntsville, Alabama. Correct. Okay. Gulf Coast Pickers on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Yep. Okay. The Philly Picker. Paul doesn't live in Philly.
He's the Philly Flipper, baby.
Oh, the Philly Picker. Joe. Edit time. I'm not editing. Okay. Joe, the Philly Picker, right there. He is in Philly. Or the Philly Flipper, Paul, who's in Florida. Okay.
And people call him Phil.
They do.
I think it's funny.
I do too.
I was sitting next to him the other day and somebody's like, hey, Phil. And I was like, who's Phil?
Yes. And you notice she looked up because you do look up.
You do look up.
Because Paul is way up here. It's very tall. And the Nashville Flipper.
But he was
obviously
in Philly when he named his name, and he just decided to keep it because he's become
And it's one of those
associated with it.
names that rolls right off of the tongue. The Nashville Flipper, the Philly Picker,
Yes.
Old School Flips, Jimmy Old School Flips.
Now, talking about the Philly Flipper and the Philly Picker, that's one thing you may want to consider if you're still trying to come up with your name, is looking around and making sure there's not another one that's super close to you. Because...
Yes, Bearded Folk.
We love the Bearded Folk.
Bearded Picker, Bearded Thrifter, Bearded Thrift King,
Bearded Thrift Machine,
Bearded Thrift Machine,
Bearded Pokey Dude.
Yep, I'm telling you, there's a ton of them.
Bearded Finds.
Bearded Finds.
There's a lot of beards.
There's a lot of beards out there, guys.
So if you're a bearded dude and you are thinking about being a reseller, maybe come up
Shave.
with... That's an idea.
I'm just kidding.
No. But, I mean, they're great names. And most of those guys we've actually met, which is funny.
Yeah.
But you may want to look, if you're just coming into the business, you want to look around and not necessarily get just like someone else, because you're going to get confused. And they're not. They're who they are.
This is a case in point. We were on a raid train last week.
We were.
Okay. With Michelle Collects LLC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's also a Michelle Deals.
And they're both fairly big on Whatnot.
Fairly big on Whatnot. And their first name is Michelle on both. Mm-hmm. Well, on the raid train, if you guys don't know what a raid train is, you're designed to raid into the next person that's on the train. Well, the person that was supposed to raid into Michelle Collects LLC accidentally raided into Michelle Deals.
And those are both names that a lot of us have done trains with before, so they're like right there in our clicking thing. It just like, oops.
Yep, and that was an oops.
And he felt so terrible about it. And I feel
what ended up happening was everybody went live that was on the train, got the train back into that, and then we raided back into Michelle Collects LLC.
But yeah, like I said, if you are like a new reseller and you're like, you know what, I'm ready to go on YouTube, I want a name, just do a little reconnaissance, try to come up with something a little bit different. Absolutely.
AI would be a great way to find a good
just
name.
so you don't accidentally find yourself in that position where people are getting you confused. Because
yes. And if you are on, by the way, Instagram, and your name is Jack's Treasures,
and you never use your account anyway,
please reach out to us. I will pay for Jack's Treasures
on Instagram.
You are hearing me. I'll pay for it in the name. Okay.
We will.
But yeah, Jack, having a name is something that is very, very easy to come up with, and it's also easy to mess up.
Yep.
Okay, I've seen people with names they take their first name and their last name. Let's say, for instance, for me, it would be, let's just say my middle name because my last name's hard. If I said Brian Patrick 06555, okay, well, I'm a seller. That's not memorable. It's hard to find, okay? You want somebody's name that's hard to find. I very rarely have to give people cards, even though I give stickers out like they're candy. When I tell them, I say, yeah, just look me up on YouTube. I'm Jack's Treasures, one word. That's easy for me to say.
Yes.
Now, for those that are the bearded guys, that's a little bit tougher because, there are a lot. There's a lot of them and stuff. And I'm not trying to say anything
we
about
love the bearded guys.
I love the guys. I really, really do. Okay. So you want a name that, personal to you and says a little bit about what you're doing. Reselling. Upcycled by Bree. Tells you exactly what she does. She buys older stuff, she upcycles it, and then she sells it.
Yep.
It's a great name. Okay. I learned about Jen's Multiverse. Jen's Multiverse is called that way because of all of her differing personalities that she it absorbs into her. We met Jen at the Nashville meetup last week, and she is very, very just a super sweet person to begin with. Okay, you will not be disappointed with anything dealing with Jen's Multiverse.
Other thing with confusion is you want to think about what your name looks like in print, because if you are going to do live selling, you're going to go into like Whatnot, your name's going to appear on the screen. Make sure you're not accidentally putting in some cuss words that people are going to say by mistake. I can't remember the example, but I know it was something like class or mass or something, but the word before it connected, so I was like calling them blank ass when it was really like blank mass. And
everybody knows the Mike,
yes,
Mike, and the Jack
Hunt,
yeah,
Jack
me off,
yeah.
So you want to think about how your name looks
right
in on the screen if you're doing live selling. Even if you're doing static selling, by the way, you still want to do that also.
Or if you're going to be in YouTube, going into YouTube rooms, things like that. I mean, you want your name to represent what you actually want it to, not to, oh, that's a little weird,
Yes. Little weird. Here's the story.
A couple of years ago, I sold something on eBay, or I had something up for eBay, and then somebody sent me an offer. And the name was Daddy Horse, another name for a rooster. That was their name.
Cock.
Daddy Horse, another name for a rooster. All one word.
Yep.
And
I
didn't accept the offer. Yeah. Well, it was an offer, and I would have taken it, but that name
No, you accepted it because you canceled it because that's what it appeared on the oh, that's a different one? You have another one?
Well, there was quite another questionable one.
Never mind.
That one was, I'll tell you that one too. This
one, lovely. This is going to be a long video. I like this.
This one was, that one I just didn't accept the offer because I'm like, I feel like that person is going to be difficult to deal with. And he may have been a super nice guy, but his name just put a bad, feeling in my mouth to where, okay, that sounded bad. That put a bad feeling in my brain, and I didn't want to accept that offer, and I wound up selling the item to someone else. Now, the one he's thinking of, this was someone, they had a general name. Maybe their name was Ann 567892.
Also an eBay purchase.
I go to print the label, and it went out to that bitch, and then their address below that. And I did cancel that one also because it made me a little uncomfortable taking that to the post office.
You think about taking that to the post office, and the post office is looking at this?
And that was in their name. And I'm sorry if that was your born-in name. If that was your born name and your name is that bitch, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry I canceled your order. But I just wasn't comfortable.
Yeah. So nowadays, you actually definitely do have to think about what you're putting into your name. What do you want to try people to remember you by? Is it a memorable name? Is it something that's simple? It's something that people will remember. I remember when my nephew started reselling, it was Justin something, and then it had a bunch of numbers on it.
9.
Yeah, and I was like, Justin shortened that to Just Incredible Deals. Okay, that it flows. It runs off the tongue. Brandy's Bargains, who lives right next door to us, is came up with a name just like that.
She has bargains.
Brandy, she's got bargains. Okay, so having a name is very, very important to reselling, especially now that live reselling is catching on a lot right now. There seems to be a very big explosion. I'm not saying that live selling is going to retake over. It's not going to take over. You're still going to have static selling everywhere. But live selling right now, a lot of it, and it is starting to grow by leaps and bounds. And having a name that is memorable, simple, personal, and not confusing.
And not necessarily pornographic.
Yeah, or insulting or something like that. Because you imagine some of those that would come out that were racist or political.
Oh.
I try to stay away from all of that kind of stuff. Religious.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. No, you're going to alienate a lot of people in your own audience. Okay, so this has been a long one right here. Okay, but please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that like button. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a we got a thumbs down, guys, on one of our videos. We're making it a thumbs up or a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
No, everybody's going to drop thumbs down just to make you worry.
I know, and you know what? I thought it was funny. I laughed. I said, I know who did that.
Tell me your favorite name.
Yep.
Like that you've encountered. Your favorite like reseller name.
Yep, definitely. Drop some comments down there and below. If you can, please help us out with Stop Soldier Suicide. 22 soldiers a day are committing suicide. Way too much a day, guys. So if you can, give to stopsoldiersuicide.org. They are the best organization for helping that. And as always, peace out from Jack's Treasures or Brian's Treasures.
Mr. Jack.